تقاربوا تقاربوا تحبوا. The closer you get, the more love you feel. Who here has heard of oxytocin? Oxytocin is called the love chemical. If you hug someone for 3 seconds, they say your brain starts to release oxytocin and you start to feel that connection with the person, right? So, I'm not saying come all hug me. I'm just saying the closer you get, subhanAllah, the more connection and the more mahabba you feel. Brother Hedi is going to come out. Brother Hedi is, who works with us at the Rehabilitation Project. Jazakallah khair. He's going to hand out some flyers and some resources. I'm not sure if upstairs the sisters will get one as well, inshallah. All right, beautiful. So for the sisters, he's left it on the table, inshallah, they can get one. And if you're watching online, inshallah, when we get to certain slides, screenshot or, I don't know if you can save the video, but when I get to those resources, they're very important to take note of, because they'll be handy, inshallah. So, Bismillah, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem, Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. We seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection from the evil of ourselves and from the evil deception and waswasa of shaitan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us knowledge that's going to be beneficial. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit us with that knowledge. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in beneficial knowledge. So why am I here and what is the Rehabilitation Project? So the Rehabilitation Project is it's a community-based drug and alcohol support and recovery program. It's targeted at the Muslim community. We run support groups, we do group counseling, we do referral pathways to rehabs, we do referral pathways to detoxes. We do take the brothers when they finish the detox and when they finish the rehab and they need that community-based support. So we provide that platform for the brothers, because addiction pretty much equals isolation. And when you're isolated, you don't feel very comfortable at all to talk about any of your issues, because you're isolated. And the opposite of addiction is connection. That's why the first word of the program is connect. Connection is the key. Healthy communication, inshallah, we'll talk about later. But this keeps cutting out, brother. Inside the office. There he is. Yeah, it's cutting out a bit, but that's fine, inshallah. It's all good. All right, so let's just begin, inshallah. Like I said, today I'm here to talk about drug and alcohol addiction and awareness. We will talk about what is addiction, what is a drug, what is addiction, how does addiction actually happen, right? We'll break things down. We'll talk about the progressive stages of how someone can get addicted to drugs. Then we'll talk about the cycle of addiction. When someone's already addicted, there's a cycle, there's a heavy cycle that people go through. And we'll talk about that, inshallah. We will talk about what we do in the community. And what I say about why I say what we do is because this is something that every community organization needs to be looking at doing. Because it's a very, very real issue. And I'll explain to you a bit later why. I think I've explained this already. So the Rehabilitation Project is a community-based drug and alcohol support and recovery service. This is what we do. Look us, if you're not sure, look it up on Facebook and the website as well. I want to play a video that I call him Brother Nuggets, but but he's very famous. He's known as Nuggets. We go way back. I relate a lot to him, and we have a lot in common. So without giving you too much, which I think I did, can you guys see the screen clear? Yeah? Inshallah? All right. Up, yeah. So this is a journey of someone from the beginning to the end. This could take 1 week, it could take 1 month, it could take 1 year. But the process is the same. Trying to work out the audio. There we go. So this is pre-anything. He's just walking along, walks past it, doesn't pay much attention, whatever, keeps walking. Sees it. So we're in the curiosity phase. Ah, well, what the heck. Hello. What's this? Wow. What was that? What just happened? Notice how he didn't play with it this time. He just grabbed it. Oh, this is what I'm after. This is what I'm after. Oh, look what happened now. Uh-oh. I remember this. He's running towards it now. This is when it becomes functional. Notice how the fall is harder. Takes longer to shake it off. Runs faster towards it. Now you can sense that behavior is building. And the desire to want it is increased. Unbelievable. That's not what happened the first time, was it? And look, subhanAllah, goes back to it. Why? Notice how the screen is darker. This depicts a scene, a mental state, a social state, a financial state. It's getting darker, things is getting harder. This is now in towards the withdrawal phase. It gets so bad that the only thing they can see is what got them there in the first place. Nothing else around them has light. You have another choice. Who can give me some reflections on that? I noticed that you were saying something earlier, someone said something earlier. A couple of quick reflections on that.
I've got a few, but please go ahead. I come from back some training from there, so I'd rather.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, yeah.
It's a very clever
It tells a story, doesn't it? Yeah. 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 Because unfortunately, as a community, we don't see how it starts. We see the crisis when it's bad, when we don't see what's happened earlier, what the experiences were for someone and how they made them feel and what it did for them. We only see the crisis side, or the community only sees the crisis end, and they don't understand exactly how we got there. And to fix something, we have to know how it works. We can't expect to fix something without knowing what it's for and how it works. Does that make sense? Is that a logical principle? It's a similar concept. This is what we're trying to do here. And the reason why I'm trying to do this here is because once upon a time I was sat in that corner over there and I would pray in silence, and I was going through addiction myself in silence. And today I'm standing here talking about it. Like, this is a very surreal kind of thing. And it's because this depicts such a journey. That's why I said to you earlier that I relate to Nuggets. We go way back. Because the journey is very similar to a lot of people. Some people use it for drugs, was their vice. Other people, it's other things.
So you're saying you have gone through?
Of course, yes. Yeah. Yeah. It takes, we'll talk about that inshallah a bit later when it comes to support and things. But just to give you an idea that
I think it was
it's,
important for the audience to know that, because
yeah.
there's someone who has gone through this and you are here now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different perspective on that particular point. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, now I'm totally looking at a different perspective.
There you go.
Someone who's gone through it, you've done when you've
Yeah.
been there, you've done it, and you're out of it. So it makes a difference.
That's right. And there was a lot of, there was a big time frame between me sitting in that corner and praying and coming here, sitting in silence, and people not knowing and me not even knowing how to approach the community, versus a journey that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ended me up here and allowed me to actually do this work, because when I was experiencing it, that's what I needed. Perhaps if I heard someone like this talking, I would have said, oh yeah, hang on, I think I need to speak to you. Did you get me? But we had to do other things, alhamdulillah. Nonetheless, we are here today, inshallah, and we're going to be doing a lot more of this stuff for the different community centers to keep this conversation happening, inshallah. So what is a drug? What is a drug? What's that yellow thing that Nuggets looked at? I'm sure you all were like, what is that? Right? What's that? And next minute, he's flying. And you go, okay. And then a drug is pretty...
Another question I wanted to ask you at the beginning of this presentation, that, I mean, does this include just smoking, purely cigarettes as well, or you're talking about
Anything, any addiction, yeah.
Gambling addiction, even some of the anything that leads you to go back and what's repeated over and over. That's again.
So, yeah.
He needed that.
So what is a drug? A drug is a substance that changes the person's mental or physical state. It can literally affect the way your brain works and how you feel and how you behave, even your sense of understanding and even your senses. So we were created on, if you like, a certain wavelength, a certain chemical balance that we operate on, generally speaking. And these chemicals obviously create a very, very, very big spike, whether up or down, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff. As you saw Nuggets experiencing it, and we're not meant to be doing it for a reason, because we weren't created for pleasure. We were created to address the bigger issues in our existence, as well as survival, as well as believing in our Creator and using our intellect to reach the purpose of life, which is seeking the purpose of life, and using your intellect with that perfect balance that you were created with, you'll be able to reach it. Play around with that balance, you won't be able to function correctly. So that's what a drug, it's something that alters your perception, be it short term, be it long term. I gave you the hands out before to talk about a different kind of drugs. If you look at the back of that, yeah. So the drug wheel is a very, very, very good resource. I believe it's by the Alcohol and Drug Foundation. If I misquoted that, I'm sorry, I retract it. But It's a very, very good resource about the different types of substances. Okay? So what is addiction? Addiction is defined by obsessive thinking and compulsive need for drug, alcohol, food, gambling, or anything else despite the negative consequences. This is addiction. So despite the negative consequences, even when he fell and he tumbled and he looked back and everything is dark, yet he's still going to the same thing, there's something going on. Yeah? Something is going on. And so what that kind of does for an individual inside is it's a struggle for them to understand that behavior. It's a struggle that when you fall and you break and you look back and you turn around and you see that's happening and then you go and do it again and then you get up and then you fall and you actually say, I'm not going to go this. Look what just happened. And then you actually turn towards it and you go back to it. Can you imagine what's happening to a human being that's supposedly has intellect about self-preservation, about understanding where the harms are in his life? Can you imagine what's going on in their mind? And going back to it again, to the same thing that just done all that? Why? Why is that? Okay? There's a lot of chemical imbalances in the brain. There's a lot of need to connect. But the only thing that can provide that connection is the drug eventually by the time they get addicted. Because in the beginning, look how high nuggets flew. No human being can ever make me feel the way this is making me feel. Yeah? But it can only last because the brain is an organic matter. It's the only organic matter that can articulate, that can calculate, that can collect information, analyze it, can store data, it can emit waves of language and air and signals. It's the only organic matter in existence that can do that. It's from its creator. Okay? So we need to preserve it, is what I'm trying to say. There's chemicals in the brain that need to be, we're not supposed to drink alcohol for a reason. Right? There's reasons why. So how and why? Again, we looked at nuggets, yeah? And we talked about curiosity. Then you talk about experimental. These are rough sort of stages. So you got curiosity, then you got experimental, and experience this experience. They go, oh yeah, the brain now stores that. This is something good. I can use it recreationally. Then it becomes recreational. Once it becomes recreational is not fun anymore. It becomes functional now, so it becomes in your day-to-day life. It's not just a weekend thing. It enters now into your day-to-day life to function. Then it transitions from, once you're in function mode, your tolerance builds up because you're using it every single day. Whereas on the weekend, if you just do it on the weekend, you've got all week to recover, go back to life, and your brain starts to balance itself out. But once it hits the functional level, your tolerance levels skyrocket. And you need more and more and more because now the brain is not getting enough rest, right? So then dependence builds. And tolerance is when you need more of the drug to cause the same effect. So you tolerate the amount that you use. Dependence is when you can't really function without the drug. So you can't, now you've dropped below the stable line. Withdrawal is when you actually feel very bad if you don't have the drug. Not just I can't function, but you actually start to feel very bad, very sick, very ill. Be it physically, be it psychologically, depending on the substances and what they do, chemically speaking, to the body. Not just the physical detox, not just the physical impact, but a psychological impact on the individual. And unfortunately, a lot of this stuff, it's not visible injuries. The visible things are the behaviors. Yeah? And I always give this example, and I love it so much. If you saw someone now opening the door on crutches, with one arm, a bandage around his head, and he's just trying to get through the door, what would you do? What would your fitrah tell you to do? What would your natural disposition or inclination get you to do? He'll jump up and open the door and hold and come in. True? Because the injuries are visible. With this stuff, it's not visible. What's visible are the behaviors. So when we look at the behaviors and start automatically judge the person for the behavior, that's the first mistake, because you're judging. Automatically, the person is going to become defensive, evasive, deflective. He's not going to own it, because you're already judging him. Yeah, it's a natural, ego to preserve yourself and your honor, right? Because we're human beings. That there's a difference between a human being and an animal. And that's what it is. Animals don't go out and wear clothes and wear better clothes, and right? It's human beings. We are the only species that have that inclination, because we have a high level of greater thinking. We are able to override our limbic system, which is the animalistic, where the amygdala is, and you're not just driven by emotion all the time. We are able to hold back and use our intellect and analyze and calculate things before we address them. But what addiction does, it actually disrupts that. So when you're seeing the person, you're seeing the behavior, and you can't comprehend it because the injuries are not visible. So what are the harms? What are the harms of substance use? What are the harms? It must be very good, yeah? No harms? Let's just go for it. Yep. There you go. Physical, yeah.
Mental, financial.
Yep. What else? Let's think outside the box. Very good. So socially. Crime. Very good. Very good. So we've got social, we've got psychological, we've got physical. What else? Relationships, legal issues. What about spiritual issues? Yeah. Yeah. Very good, yeah. Sorry? Increasing in sin, yeah. Spiritual, yeah. So what Hadi there, Brother Hadi said is increase in sin. So this is one of the harms of substance use. Because as a Muslim, believing in Allah is still at the core of my identity. That's at the core of my identity, right? And addiction challenges that, because now you start to seek something else. And when you seek addiction, when you seek that substance, a lot of other things come with it. So that actually was disrupting my core identity, my core belief. And it was very conflicting for me inside. Very conflicting. And it was always an internal battle. Go good, then no good. There was always this internal conflict. And that's exactly there's a spiritual scars, if you like, or spiritual harm on a human being. Especially a Muslim that's trying. We're all, we're going to fall into some sort of haram or some sort of sin, because but as long as we keep trying to address the big picture and our purpose of our existence, there's always hope. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's always hope, right? So spiritual health is very important, very, very. And it's, we talk a lot about spirituality and spiritual healing, or what does it look like? It's not about levitating and that's not like it's actually real concepts. It's real concepts. If you want to grow if you want to grow physically, what do? You train, you challenge yourself physically, correct? If you want to grow spiritually, you need to challenge yourself spiritually. Does that make sense? Tayyib, what is a spiritual challenge? How do you grow spiritually? How do you challenge yourself spiritually? Holding yourself back, holding your anger back, that's a spiritual challenge. Controlling yourself, your nafs, is a spiritual challenge. Being just in an environment or a situation where this is my friend, and I don't know this person, but the one that I don't know is in the right, but this is my friend, I actually respect him a lot. In a situation where you go in and you be just in the situation, between the two. regardless of who's who. Why? Because that's a spiritual challenge. You have loyalties there, but you don't have loyalties there. You want to impress this person, but you don't know this person. That's a spiritual challenge. So you grow spiritual. So spirituality really is at the core of a Muslim's identity. Your manners, your behaviors, your dealings, your honesty, your integrity, your communication, your respect, your humility. All of these are the qualities of the Prophet ﷺ. True, is it not? And he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, that I was sent down to complete these attributes, to show us what kind of level a human being can become if he addresses his spiritual condition, if his spiritual need. And when you're chasing other than this particular concept to be a good servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you're going to be chasing something else. So you become preoccupied with everything else. And drugs is a big one, especially now coming up for the youth. That's why we need to keep talking about it. If you so much as sense someone coming and mentioning it to you, be happy because there's a sense of trust there. Don't ever judge and just listen. That's all. We'll talk about that inshallah when we come to the next. So I want to talk about the cycle of addiction. So this is obviously when, towards the end, when someone is already addicted, he's in full-blown addiction, he's not just smoking, it's on the pack, it's on one of these, the back of the papers, inshallah. It's got the cycle of addiction, yep. It's on the back of the drug wheel, it's on the back of it, yep. So the cycle of addiction basically starts from when someone uses drugs, there's different models, to when someone uses again. Or when someone stops, to then when someone stops. I want to start, there's a few models. That's why I put both on the screen there. But I really like the one on the right because it starts with an internal frustration. And you can apply this on any type of addiction. It doesn't have to be drugs. Any type of addiction, with the visual, with the behavioral addictions, whatever the addiction is, right? It starts with an internal frustration. I need something. What I'm feeling right now is not enough. How I'm feeling right now is not comfortable. I have an internal frustration. People resort to different things based on what's accessible, based on the environment, based on opportunity. But nonetheless, every human being will have that internal need. That's where it starts. Internal frustration, internal need. How can I get rid of this internal frustration or internal need? My mind now goes into what? Search mode. Search mode. You start to search. How can I get rid of this need? Let's go get food. Let's go eat. Let's go play soccer. I'll message my mate. I'll check social media. I'll go use drugs. I'll go call this girl. I'll go do this. This is not always the case. I'm just giving you the things that people do. I can pray two rak'at salah. I can make wudu. You know what? I'm going to go to the masjid. You know what? I'm going to call a sheikh. You know what? Let me read Quran. Nonetheless, there's an internal frustration. So when your brain does that search, it's going to go for things that feel good, for recent memories, right? Your recent items. What can I use? What have I used? Yeah, I'll do this. Yeah, no problem. Once you make a decide, once you go, yeah, you actually look at this option, you go, it's actually a good option, you start obsessing about it and you start building it and you start drawing this picture in your mind. Yeah, it's going to be good. Let's do it. It'll get rid of this internal frustration. This could apply to sin, work, lifestyle, whatever. Then you get on. Then you use the substance. Then you do what it is that you wanted to do. You lose a sense of control. Immediately, lose a sense of control. You go to guilt of use. Then you stop using. Once you stop using, time passes. You forget about it, right? It's all good now. I'm over those emotions, and time passes. You plateau, boom, the internal frustration kicks in again. What's going to happen when the internal frustration kicks in again? I'll start to look for resources. And with addiction, especially with drugs, or alcohol, or it creates a profound impact on the mind, on the brain, right? Especially on the feel-good chemicals of the brain. So your brain, when it does a quick search, what can I use? What's going to make me feel good? You have oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins. They're like the main 4 feel-good chemicals that the brain produces. And substances that flood the brain with that, like flood it. So when their brains experience that profound impact, it stores it. This is a resource that I can use for later. And then when an injury happens, when a trauma happens, when a need, frustration need kicks in, they need to get rid of, when they do the search button, this is the thing that helped me the most. We created it, so they use it. And then cycle begins. And until and unless there's an external intervention coming into the cycle, be it legal, be it family, be it medical, be it social, be it spiritual, until there's an intervention coming in, it's very difficult for you to stop the cycle. Let's call it a spanner in the works, right? You've got to throw a spanner in the works. Some people are on different levels than other people. Some people have internal resources and obviously external resources that they reach out to. Other people don't. We never assume that this is the be-all or end-all, this is it, or it's not. This is just a general information session, inshallah, for us to keep thinking about these things, because they're real social issues. Almost, I can't give you the exact stat, but a very, very, very high number, I should have got the stats with me, that crime rates and incarceration is because of drugs. And look, not necessarily. No. People from very high affluent places, or people that, I can tell you from my perspective, it's, we've got a live example right here. It's not, it's something that, I'm not even going to even have glorified or anything, but if I was happy, I wanted to be happier.
Yeah, but it's the underlying mental health issue. It's like you were saying, affluence. Affluence has nothing to do with mental health issues.
Look,
Well, there's always a pre-existing condition prior to people going to drugs, right? So prior to people going to drugs and alcohol, there's always a pre-existing condition, something that happened in childhood, something that happened, some sort of...
so they say there's a trauma. Yeah, they say a lot of people that became addicted to it, there's trauma, right? But let me ask you a question. You know, if I ask every single person in this room, or if I ask every single person on earth to actually be honest about their life story, every single person has trauma. That's life.
I think this is very recent. They're talking about these things just to make it glorifying the use of drugs and trying to blame it on the person more than anything else. I think I don't believe in any these things. It's yourself how you get into it, your behavior. The cycle here makes very very practical sense.
Well, say you're a child of a junkie, right?
Please don't use that word.
Say you're the child of a...
Someone that uses drugs.
Someone else is a user, right?
Yeah, someone that uses it, yeah.
Right? So obviously in their system, throughout their DNA, it's already genetically encoded into them to have pre-inclination to take certain things, right? Say you're an alcoholic father, right? I'll give you, that's just an example.
Yeah. No, that's... Look, his... Yeah.
Very common, and I think this is why we tend to lean on that theory. But there are so many different ways that someone can find themselves in trouble. It doesn't necessarily have to be because of any underlying.
You also hear the story that the father is drug addicted, the son is
So you heard the story. Yeah, so look, there are predisposed conditions that might, expose someone at an early age in a home environment, to pull them towards that lifestyle. But there's a story that there's a person that two brothers, one's very, very rich and successful, and one's an alcoholic, and they asked both of them, "What's your life story?" One said, well, they asked the alcoholic, and he said, my dad's an alcoholic, so I grew up in an alcoholic home, So then they asked the rich person, why are you rich? He goes, mate, my dad was an alcoholic. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that. So I wanted to get out of that. Same lifestyle, same dad, same home. You understand me? So there's not one size. You're 100% right. That there's very, very valid. There's a lot in that, but it's not. It's a very broad. Yeah, like the brother was saying. There's a lot that comes with it as well. So again, what are the risks of relapse? I know this is just a short info session, inshallah, just to raise some awareness and get people talking and discussing these certain things, inshallah. High risk situations, accessibility, opportunity, obsessive thinking, having no boundaries, triggers, unhealthy communication, all of these things could be a risk for someone to have a lapse. Okay? What prevents a relapse is there's many factors. Firstly, it's environment is key. If you take someone out of that environment, you send them overseas for 3 months with no drugs, with no alcohol, they're not going to end up using. So, but when they come back, they'll get triggered, they'll get back into the environment, they get lapsed. So environment is very important. And creating that space, at least for a little bit in the early stages, so you can get a nice momentum. Removing the accessibility, identifying those opportunities that you create or that they create, know the triggers, knowing how to deal with cravings. Not many people know how to deal with cravings. That even, if we apply this to, let's say, a sin that we might commit, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us all, they say there's a 20-minute bubble. If you hold on for that 20 minutes, that urge will go. So knowing how to deal with that cravings, some people do push-ups, some people hit the bag, some people read Quran, some people make wudu. Yeah, there's different strategies. Continuous self-care, creating a counterweight, continuous, loving, meaningful life. George Patricky from Queensland, from Jewel Dog. This topic, he blows my mind every time I watch him. And he talks about loving something, because there's a strong love for that thing, even though the harms were so bad and it was so painful and there was something kept you going back to that. It's the love, right? And they say, subhanAllah, this concept is so real, because they say if a mother was to remember the pains of childbirth, she wouldn't give birth again. But she remembers the love of the child a lot more. So it's okay if I have pain. We want to feel love. Who doesn't want to? We want the love, right? We want to feel love. We want to, subhanAllah, it's a thing. So to counterweight the drug addiction and the love for the other stuff, we need to provide that love and care and concern, and genuine care and concern.
Find a purpose of life.
Yeah. Yeah, but we need to provide that for the person, because obviously the person can't do it for themselves, especially in the later on of addiction. So we need to provide that space. Knowing this concept, unfortunately, we approach it a lot from, we crack the whip a lot, and that's, it does work to a certain degree, but a lot of research now saying empowering someone and supporting someone and loving someone and love you back to life, if you like, just creating that unconditional or non-judgmental connection, non-judgmental love, is very powerful. Very, very powerful.
I just wanted to expand on what you're saying there. It's been noted and been acknowledged more and more that the support is required for these people that are suffering, especially by the family and friends. But a lot of family and friends don't know where to get that support and that knowledge. There are now programs for families to go and educate themselves on how to best deal.
We'll get to the few other slides at the end. We've got support, where to get support, and then I want you to share a bit more about that. Yeah, thanks. Ta-da, here it is, and then it's the right next slide. So how to support someone. We talked about connection. Connection is key. Talked about communication, speaking up, talking. Provide options. And I think I did put these in sort of the first few in chronological order. So you first connect with the individual, then you communicate. If you feel you're not connecting, you stop communicating. If you're not communicating, if they're not communicating with you, don't even bother providing options. So do you see where I'm going with this?
You're going to do that when you have genuine concern.
Yeah, that's right. And then you need to create a healthy routine. You can do psychological counseling, continuous support. Family support is very important to the family to support the individual. And it's very difficult to see someone injured and then jump back off the balcony, break his leg, go back in the house, walk upstairs, go to the first floor, look down, jump back, break his leg again, walk upstairs again. Can you imagine the family looking at that and going, what are you doing? Stop doing that. When you fall, you hurt and you cry, help me, help me. Then you get up. Yeah, all right, we help you, fix your leg, whatever. All right, boom. There you go. You all right now? Yeah, all good, no problem. Thank you. Then he goes back upstairs, first floor, and jumps back down. Boom. What's the family going to say? True or not? So it's very hard for families to actually understand the concept. So for the family to support the individual, it's very difficult. Because now they're like, you know what? That's it. I'm not going to help you. You're going to sit on the floor and you're going to cry. I'm not letting you up. Because every time I get you up, you go back upstairs. Then you go to the first floor and you jump again. Lock the door now. That's it. True? Does that make sense? It's a very similar concept. So it's very hard, and we understand this. There's an actual organization called Family Drug Support. Right? We're going to be working together, inshallah, on a couple of collaborative projects for this specific reason. They run groups for families, and inshallah, if there's anyone, reach out, inshallah, and we'll link you up. So it's very important. And also, supporting the family, that's where family drug support comes in, because they are able to grasp that concept. I don't want to go into too much detail in that, but that's always available. And it's very important. So, what are we doing? Yeah, that's me. That's me. Yeah. All right. Come on, man. You're supposed to be on my side, bro. All right. So, this is what we're doing. This is what we have. Alhamdulillah, it's something. It's not the whole solution. It's one small part of the solution. I don't know if I can play it from here. Can I play the video from here, or you can play from there? Yeah.
Peace be upon you. This is Mohammed from the Rehabilitation Project. We are a community-based drug and alcohol support and recovery program targeted at the Muslim community. One of our main support programs is the Connect, Discover, Recover, which incorporates group counselling, it incorporates therapy meetings, it incorporates workshops, it incorporates spiritual reminders where we have guest speakers from different professions come together and share their experiences and help support the brothers that are coming to the program.
This program, it's the way I feel about it, it's saving my life, and I genuinely feel that way.
I think by far the favourite part of the whole organisation and the program is the social outings that we do. Sometimes we go fishing, sometimes we go hiking, sometimes we go bushwalking, and it just creates that natural default connection space for brothers to get really connected and back into nature.
Well, I've got to say that the rehabilitation project has really helped me, because it's helped me connect with like-minded people that have gone through calamities and still dealing with the pressures of life. And you know what? Without having a group like this, I probably wouldn't be able to be where I am today.
If you are struggling, or if you know anyone is struggling, please reach out via the information below. This space is confidential. This space is a safe space for you to share your journey, and inshallah you'll feel supported.
Where to get help? There's a few options, quite a few options. Get out of the house, shouldn't be one of them. There's a lot more you can do before that. Okay? There's residential programs. There's day programs. There's the paper that I've printed out has a lot of resources, contact details, crisis line, the drug health intake service line. It's got Odyssey House's number, it's got a few rehabs, it's got detoxes, it's got who's. Go to that before you kick him out. Provide the option, connect first, genuinely connection, communicate, genuine concern before you provide the option. Then you bring the options on board, and trust me when I tell you, if they feel that connection, they will accept the help. They will accept the help. So we've got day programs, sort of like ours in Rendu House and other day programs as well that do very good. We've got detoxes, which are generally speaking, got the public health, which is generally like every hospital will have a detox facility. We've got Fairfield, Concord, Western Sydney as well, Nepean Hospital as well. They all have detoxes in there. It's a matter of just ringing up. Drug health intake line is very good. They'll give you a lot of information. You can see a counsellor, you can see a psychologist. I am a registered counsellor. I prefer to only do drug and alcohol counselling. Alhamdulillah now. Support groups like ours. Doesn't just have to be our support program. It could be any support group. There's power with that kind of support. But the reason why they say to go to somewhere that's culturally and spiritually inclusive, because it gives you that sense of identity again, and you find your purpose, like the brother was saying before. You find you find your purpose again. You know who you are. You know where you're going. If I'm lost, and if I end up if I'm lost, I'm going somewhere and I'm lost and I end up lost, I need to turn around and go, how did I get here? And I need to backtrack my way. Where did I start? Where did I get wrong? So that's the first step, is giving someone their sense of identity back. So it's very important to be culturally and spiritually inclusive. This is why I started a Muslim-specific program. It's not only limited to the Muslim community, but it's targeted at the Muslim community. So we can, inshallah, increase in that. Support services as well. Like I said, there's contact in the handout, in the papers that you have, inshallah. Is there any questions? I know, brother. Brother, you're smiling. I know, you're waiting for me. I know. Yeah, you're welcome to, bro. I'm here to learn like you. Questions? Yeah. Give me a question and I'll repeat it on the mic, because I don't think people can. Sorry? Yeah, our community is facing a big problem, yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. It's very hard, yeah. Look, this is a very, very important question, because the brother is asking a question that there's a lot of people in the community that are experiencing this problem, and they're finding it very hard to access mainstream services. Yeah. How do we bridge that gap? Right. This is exactly what we've been trying to do for 3 years. Exactly. I was actually speaking to the ministry last week Friday, and there's actually specific funding around to help people access services. You know what I mean? So we're still early in this stage. I think there's still a lot to be done. This is what I said to you. This is a very small piece of the puzzle. Yeah. 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 Yep. Very, very limited, yeah. We have very limited resources. We all have full-time jobs. We all work full-time. Other than this, we all have families. And so, bi'idhnillah, the goal is, like Brother Hadi was saying, is to access that big funding and to have a day program where it's open 9 till 8, 9 at night with double shifts. We have people whatever it may look like, running day programs and evening programs. But to start off with, يعني, it's maybe 3 nights a week and a couple of day programs, 2 hours during the day. But obviously, if just for that to happen, you would need to have at least 4 or 3 full-time workers. There's a lot of back-end stuff that needs to happen, you know. So, but we are working towards that. We are a registered not-for-profit charity, alhamdulillah. We've got all that registrations. We are getting accredited by the Australian Services Excellence Standard through QIP, which is Quality Innovation and Performance. We do speak with the big bodies of the network of alcohol and other drugs. We do collaborate with the big rehabs like Who's, Odyssey House. I refer a lot of people to detoxes. People from New South Wales Health know about the service. We engage with them. They engage with us. They realize, they recognize the importance of this type of service. And they want to support. They want to see how they can help. So it's definitely a process. You know, if you want to build a building, it don't just happen in one. There's a lot of things that need to happen before it even comes up. So I think, bismillah, God willing, the vision's there. The drive is there, the motivation is there. We've got good brothers around us, alhamdulillah. And obviously there's a lot of good people from mainstream that look at us and say, this is exactly what's needed, you know. And inshallah going to be supporting a lot of community support as well, starting to come in. So it's a slow process, but definitely, bismillah, the vision is there. The vision is there. So, this... Yeah.
I just wanted to add on what Mohammed was saying. There is movement in relation to providing help and more accessible help. As much as you guys are getting accredited, Catholic Health has actually put out a program for peer and consumer support workers to go into detoxes. And can everybody hear me? I feel a bit weird with that. So New South Wales Health have finally come out. The first course, or the first accreditation course, is due to be completed in January next year. So therefore, you will have rehab detoxes and hospitals that can contact these agencies and have someone that's qualified to come and assist face-to-face with the people that are going through it, generally at detox and rehab stage, whilst they are still clean, and then work with whether it may be the Islamic Association or whatever the associations they might be with. So there is definitely movement happening with the... Yeah.
So yeah, this is what we need. Like this is what we call a residential setting. Removing someone from environment and providing the support that they need to at least stabilize. But you got to make sure, depending on the substances that they are, their body might be going through certain things. So a medicated withdrawal, medicated detox, definitely speak to a professional first. If they say, yep, this particular substance is all right for you to detox at home, you can do a community-based detox. You don't have to be inside a facility, you know, 20 monitor 20. I think that to answer your question, you know, talking about the gaps, I think that as a community as a whole, there needs to be a body, and that's going to be doing this work and in charge of that collaboration, and people from all the different community centers need to collaborate with this body, whether it's the rehabilitation project, whether it's someone else that's doing this type of work in the community, for the community, whatever. But there needs to be a central point of information and support, because we are building all these connections with the mainstream services, with detox, with the rehabs, and I think because a lot of services and organizations in Muslim community have silo conversations, and I think that communication is going straight up. It's not meeting somewhere halfway. And I think in this space, to be specific, in this space, there needs to be a centralized communication platform that we can go around to all the mosques, all the mashaayikh that have communities that come up to them and say, my brother, my father, my son, my uncle, my sister, my husband. That sheikh will now go to a body, and then they know who to contact. There needs to be that. This is how it happens in mainstream. There's partnerships, referral pathways, collaborations, projects. It's something we need to do. We need to learn from that and utilize that. So we're still working on that, brother.
First thing they're going to say to us is, you must be medicated. Can it get done without medication? Very well. Yeah. But is there a risk that you have a heart failure, have problems? There is a risk. So they would naturally, all the time, they're going to tell us, you must be medicated or you must be around treatment. So that's why the rehab usually, or detox centers usually, there was the medication on them. But to answer your previous question, it's a very, very good question. How can I help? How can I support? You know, and I don't think it's much stuff on that. And I really want to get
How can you support? How can you support the individual, or how can you support the organization? The organization. Well, we can talk after, but generally speaking, right now we need support around assisting the accreditation process. There's a lot of work that goes into it in terms of governance and policy, and which we've already. Sorry. Yeah, definitely, yeah. So I think our processes are well established. I just think we need, because it takes time to translate those processes into that the accreditation language, so that we can do the self-assessment, and then we do the site assessment, and then within 12 months, inshallah, we'll get accredited. So that's the stuff we kind of need help with, like, uni students that are working on quality improvement staff, obviously resources, brothers that are passionate in the community, that have experience in this stuff, that's helped other brothers. Please reach out. We want consistent brothers, dedicated brothers. Alhamdulillah, Hadi's been with us now for about a year and a half. Consistent, dedicated every single week. Allah reward him. We have another brother with us, Adam. Inshallah, we have people in the background, sisters helping us immensely. So we definitely need, it's a community issue. So it's a community solution. Yeah, 100%. Like I said, this is like one piece of the puzzle. It's the flame, it's just the spark. Now we need the right.
It's a 1,000-piece puzzle, that's only one piece.
Yeah, but you have to start somewhere. If you don't start somewhere, you will never have a full, complete puzzle, right? At least in this space.
Before it's too late.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, people only reach out when it's in crisis mode. Because people want to preserve. No one wants to say, oh yeah, today I done 1, 2, 3 in front of my family, right? In front of my dad. It's not nice, right? It's not honorable. It's shameful. It's sin. You don't want to expose yourself. You try to work it out on your own. You try to do your best. And sometimes, and I read this thing one day and I loved it and I always use it. It's like, good hearts, even good people, good hearts, just choose poor methods to deal with life. And they get stuck with those poor methods. So it can be, it's a struggle to comprehend. So it's something that we need to not judge and people reach out when they're in crisis mode. You don't know what's happened for them to turn there. Like you said, you don't know what trauma, you don't know what kind of loss, what kind of grief, what kind of happiness or sadness, or you just don't know. And our job is not to fix always, never. Our job is never to fix. Always remember this. Our job is never to fix. Our job is to support, not to fix. Because you can't fix someone if they don't want to get fixed, right? It's not even about fixing anyway. It's about supporting someone. It's supporting another human being that's going through trials and tribulations. Inshallah. So we'll end there, inshallah. There's any more questions before we end, or I think everyone's eating, so I think that's a wrap. Inshallah. Huh? No. صحتين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. If any more questions, reach out. The flyer is there, the number is there. Look up on Facebook, inshallah, or the website. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم.